Tonight's the night, and it's going to happen again and again. Has to happen. It's a nice night. Miami's a great town, home to a lot of customs and foods, but tonight I'm hungry for something different. It's not about what I want, it's about what I need. A primal instinct that comes from deep inside, something that can't be turned off, something that will come back again and again, something that I can't control. It might be something that I eventually want to get away from, but the reality of the situation is, it is who I am. This is nature. Tonight's the night, and it's going to happen again and again. Every night, the voice calls to me, and eventually, it keeps calling. Every time I satisfy it.
Oh my God, how long is this going for?
We're talking about Dexter, everyone.
Yay,
We're
Dexter.
talking about Dexter. I was trying to see how long it would take for Ronald to snap.
It really was happening again and
a
again and
minute
again.
18 seconds. Yeah, it happens again and again and again, just as Dexter does. I give credit to this season. This is one of the only seasons that doesn't open with the tonight's the night thing.
Yeah, great job, Scott Buck.
Sees innovation. We are talking about season 5 of Dexter today. The first season that Clyde Phillips is not behind. This is, of course, the transition to Scott Buck, who many fans don't like. A lot of people don't like his take on the character or the direction he would take the show or pretty much anything.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people really do hate him and they think that he killed the series.
We'll discuss it. He's, of course, also did Iron Fist, which is important.
Yeah.
So his track record isn't exactly great.
Spotless, really.
I would like to say he has done some, he has done some good. Like,
Yeah.
he did season 7, which we'll talk about later, but I really like season 7. I would consider that just as good as, like, seasons 1, 2, and 4.
Debatable. And I can't wait till we get to that season to be able to talk about it. But let's start off with this season. Season 5.
So this is a pretty big season, which I think is partially why it's kind of disappointing, is that this is, of course, following up season 4, which, of course, has the shocking ending in which...
We didn't introduce ourselves at all or anything.
No, pausing. Everybody.
Okay.
Sorry, everybody. We're a little off our game today, by the way. Somehow, it's just me and Ron with special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Rosie. Special guest.
That's Hey, I'm Rosie, special guest.
Yeah, it's our full name.
So I'm Blake.
Obviously,
course.
and I'm Ron. Obviously, we're missing Philip and Miles. Just circumstances made it so they weren't able to be here today. But we're getting a special recording today with
Yeah.
just the
Yes.
3 of us.
It's kind of a lot of pressure. I have like 6 different shoes to fill, maybe 8 because Miles is giant.
That's a lot of shoes.
But you know what?
shoes.
It's going to be better than normal, I think.
Oh yeah, this is going to be our best episode ever because
If
they're
we're a
not
little
here.
disorganized, we'll be honest, we're not the organizers in this.
We most definitely are not. So
We're
we
like
kind
the
of
talent. They're like the boring administrative people. We're the band. They're the manager. You know what I
this
mean?
is what happens when, like, you know, they get a punk band and they just like throw them on stage, but you know they don't know how to really play or do anything. They're just like, yeah, all right, we're playing music tonight. So tonight you're getting an episode of Half a Clue. That's
half a clue jam session.
yeah.
Yeah, so tonight's a little disorganized, but bear with us. It'll be fun. But
Yeah.
yes, we're talking about season 5, which is, of course, the follow-up to season 4, where some pretty monumental shit goes down. I'm, of course, talking about the death of Rita, the brutal death of Rita, and this is kind of the season to follow it up.
Yeah, this, okay, so I think we might as well just jump in right now. Honestly, I feel like they really failed Rita as a character in terms of how they followed up with her death, because it's such a huge thing. And I think they do some things pretty good, but overall, I felt like especially in the first episode, right after the death of her, it's like, again, this massive thing that happens to Dexter and just the whole world and you know, the Dexter Miami PD people, and it's just like it feels like they're just fumbling it right out the gate. It was just like I liked Dexter's reaction to it when he's like initially in shock, and he's even when he says like it was me, like in shock, like again it makes sense because it's like fuck, how do you not just like react like a like, you know, how do you not go a little crazy after walking in and seeing your wife's dead body and your son covered in her blood? Like, that's just really
Shocking.
fucked up. Yeah, it's shocking.
Traumatizing.
Which is why it also frustrated me a bit
Frustrates.
how everyone's like, wasn't Dexter acting a little weird, Quinn? And they're like, I mean,
We'll get to
like he wasn't
Quinn.
even crying. Like when he was like dead, you know, his neighbor seemed more sad than he did. It's like, yeah, because he was in shock. He was very clearly in
we'll
shock.
get to Quinn.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what's funny is I think like in terms of immediate follow up, it's okay. It's the long term follow up that is a little like, or sorry, more than it's fucking bad. The long term follow up is really what sucks. I actually think the first like couple episodes of the season are pretty good. Clyde Phillips was still helping out. It's more so that we don't get enough of it in the later half of the season, and then especially like next season. Like, in fact, we don't really. Rita's not even really brought up again until like season 7. That's like the
Which
next.
is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's,
by
yeah,
the
it
way.
is
She's
ridiculous.
such a huge role.
Yeah, we no longer get Rita touching Dexter's face, going, "Oh, Dexter."
Dexter
was
no
the-
longer has to come up with 15 lies an episode on why he's going out. I mean, he still
Well,
does,
he
just
kind
to
of does.
different
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, now it's just a babysitter, and everyone's like, "Why aren't you taking care of the baby or the kid?" And it's like, really, that's another thing that bugs me too. It's like you think by now he would have figured it out a little bit more, but whatever.
I mean, that's like the Secret Life problem. I think every media that deals with that, the characters are always like, I don't know, I'm going out, work, 3 a.m, sorry, bye. I guess Dexter has it lucky that he's a cop. He can kind of lie his way through a lot. But yeah, I think the immediate fallout of that is done okay. I like Dexter a lot in the first episode where he's gonna like run away, and where he's like just completely numb, and he's like flashing back to like the first date he went on with Rita was literally a cover up to kill someone, and it's just showing. And he even says like, "Wow, I've really been just like lying to her from the very beginning."
Rosie, you're making a face. What do you think?
I did not like the first 2 episodes at all. I'm so sorry.
Really?
Yeah,
I think they're pretty good.
No, I don't think so. I think, well, I don't know. It's like, I agree with what you mean, like, long term, they, like, do Rita's death and injustice.
And they fuck it up,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they totally fuck it up. But just, like, within this whole season, like, at the beginning, Dexter's dealing with his loss of Rita. And then by the end of this one season alone, he's already mourning his loss of someone else. Like, a whole new person who was only in his life for a
Yeah.
short amount of time. And I know we'll get into that, but, like,
Lumen.
total injustice. And then just in the first couple episodes, it seemed like everyone was acting out of character.
Yeah.
Like Deb all of a sudden is just
Oh my
stupid and,
God,
like,
Deb's thing.
just
What's
hooking
Deb's
up
thing?
with people and
Okay,
not being a good detective.
don't you dare talk shit on the best ship of the entire show,
Oh,
which
you
is Deb
don't
Quinn.
think so, do you?
That's my
I'm Team
favorite-
Anton.
That's not only my favorite relationship in the entire show, that's the one that I think is the most realistic, Deb and Quinn.
Yeah.
I think, like, I mean, this show is not realistic at all, let's be honest, but that's the most realistic pairing of 2 characters, I think, in the entire show.
I thought
It's-
Lundy was a good, like,
Lundy's
reasonable
a good fit. That's realistic too, but I think, like, in terms of, like, actual, like, if 2 coworkers were gonna have a weird relationship, it would definitely be Deb and Quinn. I mean, they are kind of made for each other.
You
it
know
makes
what?
sense.
I kind of agree with that. I think long term, again, like I feel like if they had really fleshed out their relationship more, and I will
mean, they
give this
do,
season,
though.
yeah, I'll give this season a little bit more credit because by the end, I was buying Deb and Quinn's relationship way more. But I think just how they started off felt so dumb and
Forced.
out of character, and yeah, and forced.
I mean, they
because
were already kind of playing with it in season 4, which I think
Yeah,
is why. And
little
since I
bit.
literally have watched these back to back, it's seamless to me.
it's just it feels like she just jumps in immediately and she just like starts
Rebounding.
Yeah, she just immediately rebounds. It's like
just-
Lundy died like what, a week, 2 weeks ago.
It's been like
I think
a month,
all
I
of
think.
this
About a
season
month,
happens
okay?
in like 2 months.
About a month ago, she had like she had broken up with Anton because she had cheated on him with Lundy. Lundy gets murdered in front of her, and then and then like a month later, she jumps into bed with Quinn.
To be
She
fair,
died.
to be fair, that's one, very consistent with their character, and 2, Quinn's the guy you rebound to, right? Like, I think that,
Is he?
even though they make sense, I mean, yeah, I think that the reason I've always thought they make sense is, like, opposites attract. That's kind of a cliche thing to say, but it's true to an extent. Deb's kind of like a Boy Scout. I mean, she's a loudmouth, cursing Boy Scout, I mean, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Quinn's kind of like a bad boy, right? It's always made sense to me. So I feel like if Deb was going to rebound with anybody, it'd be with him.
I
mean,
will say
That's a
that
strong argument.
Also, dude, Quinn, daddy as fuck, handsome as fuck.
I will say I it was really adorable how Quinn was really trying to like win over Deb's heart. Like, because at first he like, you know, they just jump in a bed together and he's like, oh, cool, we're like together now, which is like, again, weird. Read the room, Quinn, but whatever. But then I like how he like puts on a button-up shirt. He
Changes out of the pattern shirt.
Yeah, he tries to like, you know, make things a little nice and romantic for Deb, and he like is like making her breakfast and shit. It's like, oh, Quinn is trying, and that's admirable. And you know, Deb is being
It's a realistic
Deb about
version
it.
of trying too. Quinn's, you know, he's an interesting. I've always said this, and I don't care. Quinn's like one of my favorite characters in the entire series. He's like the dirty cop, the bad boy. He's kind of like
Sleazy.
Is sleazy, but has a heart of gold generally.
Yeah.
He builds an interesting dynamic with Dexter that pretty much lasts the rest of the show now, which I always have liked.
Well, I will say I did like how they kind of like went about each other this season. Again, I think it started off really stupid. Again, where he's just like suspecting Dexter.
I don't
this.
know why you say that though. I think it makes perfect sense because you have to. 'cause
Someone had to.
Once again, yeah, but it's not just that. But once again, like in season 4, they're already building the steps to get there, right? Like Quinn has that line that kind of mirrors what Dokes says in season 1. Quinn looks at him and says, "You can't understand any of this, can you?" Like
Yeah.
Quinn, because here's the thing about Quinn, and I think it's why I like him so much as a character. He's a really good detective, but he's a terrible cop. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah.
He's got like genuine, really good detective skills. The problem is that he only really uses them when he wants to. Because Quinn's like inherently kind of a selfish character. He's kind of like a egotistical, selfish kind of guy. I mean, he does have a heart of gold, but he's very self-interested, right?
Yeah.
Like this Quinn, like he likes being a cop, but it's not like ever really his main focus.
No, yeah, that's true. Which
So-
I don't know. Okay, by the way, let's kind of start a little bit from the beginning here about flesh out a bit what season 5 is about, because immediately what happens, obviously they're dealing with the aftermath of Rita's death. Dexter gives the most terrible eulogy ever.
Oh God, that was
It's
so
so awful. That's one of the things that
wrong,
really pissed
dude.
me off about that episode. Is
Very
that like,
Talk about
with the character.
disrespecting.
I
Rita.
guess so. But the
He
thing
doesn't
is,
even say I loved her.
he doesn't say I loved her. He doesn't like. He just starts off by being like, she made me believe that I could be human, and like not immediately. Everyone should have been like, what the fuck
What
does
the
he mean by
fuck
that?
is he talking
What?
about?
And then he's like, she was a good person. I don't know. He should have just been like,
Yeah.
hey, she was an amazing, beautiful ray of light. This perfect person that came into my life and actually made me feel like a good person, that I had the chance to be more than I was. And then she died, and I don't know, whatever. But whatever, that's whatever, get past that. And then after that, Dexter starts looking for a new nanny. Quinn starts searching for Kyle Butler. Deb, falls into the arms of Quinn, and a couple of new investigations happen, right? Dexter he finds the blood inside of the what is it, the
U-Haul.
the U-Haul thing, which leads him down the path, which eventually leads him to Lumen. And then
Stupid fucking name.
Yeah,
Quinn
we'll talk
starts
about that.
investigating Kyle, which starts him investigating Dexter, which introduces what's his name?
Liddy.
Stan Liddy.
Liddy.
I
Honestly,
don't give a fuck about Dexter, and I don't give a fuck about Lumen.
Liddy is my second favorite character in the season, just because it's
I wish
Peter
we got a
Weller.
little more of him.
Yeah, Peter Weller is really chewing a lot of his scenes, and I love him for that. Like, he really feels like
He brings he's a very fresh character in this series.
that bitch put cuffs on me. I love all of his
You
lines.
fuck with the bowl, you get the horn.
The
You
horn.
get the horn.
I like that the
Singular
entire
horn.
season he's like eating like terrible fast food. It always looks gross too.
Yeah, or one of my favorite line though, when he's like, he finds the information on what's it, Lumen, and he's like, Lumen. What a stupid fucking name. That felt like an ad lib by Peter Weller. He was just like, read it and was like, that's stupid. Just kept moving on. Anyway, Lumen, how very subtle that is. She's the new kind of light little beacon of hope in
Should we
Dexter's
continue
life.
breaking down the season though?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll
so
get into Lumen.
And Dexter,
There's a lot
of course,
to say.
meets Lumen, or he rescues a victim from a serial killer, and from there kind of uncovers a conspiracy of like these terrible things going on.
Yes, it turns out that Lumen is not just the singular victim from this guy. She's one of 12 or 13.
She's
right?
the final
13.
victim.
13 or arguably 14, counting the
first
girl. Yeah. And then, it leads into a much larger conspiracy. It turns out that there's actually a group of guys that are doing this. Meanwhile, Deb is terribly investigating the Fuentes brothers for their cult killings. That's like another one of the things that I hate about the early season is that they come across this decapitated head, right, which is like adorned with like the eyes cut out, the tongue cut out, the mouth cut open, and like little ornaments around the head,
Like
and
candles and like skeletons and shit.
a little death memorial thing, a little a Saint Death thing, and the beat cop, the new character they introduced, the Latina character, she's like, oh, like this looks like something like a cult thing, and then Deb is like, what makes you say that? I don't know, Deb. What the fuck? What makes you think
Why
that?
would it be an
Well,
occult
everybody
thing?
kind of like doubts it too. Which is
Yeah, I
funny.
know, which
so
is
dumb.
it's why that bugs me so much. Is that Deb is a good detective. I've never really liked her character, but she's good at her job and she's good at like inferring shit. And so is Quinn to an extent. But like they literally are looking at this cult ritualistic beheading,
It's
and they're
gotta be
like,
drugs.
yeah, they're like, it's probably a drug thing, or and then even make it even worse is they go back to like the people's house that like when they're all killed and shit, and then they're like, oh, it's just like a crime of passion. He killed his wife and then he chopped off her head, and then what? Like he ornamented it. Like
maybe they were trying to imply that they made it look like a cult thing to get away with it,
Like to
I don't
cover
know.
it up.
It's definitely messy.
It was so dumb. I don't know.
This whole season's a little messy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
except for one episode, which we'll talk
Understatement.
about later. But I don't know. It's like a bad haircut. This entire season's like a bad haircut.
It's just
That season is like this episode, It's just we've had the rug pulled out from under us and we're fumbling at the seams.
putting it all together.
Yeah.
So I was say, so what do you guys want to get into first? We get into Lumen, since she's obviously kind of one of the main parts of this season.
yeah. Let's get into Lumen.
So Lumen is, of course, the victim of Dexter. Originally thinks it's just a victim of Boyd Fowler. So after Dexter's first real kill after Rita is a guy named Boyd Fowler. He picks up roadkill. He's kind of a low life. He's obsessed with self-help, and he's just like generally kind of a weirdo. Dexter takes him out, but to his surprise, there's someone in the, I guess, attic, because it would be considered the attic. There's a girl in the attic.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Who's like dying, and he's like, oh fuck, she's just watched me murder this guy. So he spends the next episode kind of rehabilitating her, bringing her to health, while also trying to convince her, like, hey, I saved your life, but like I need to fucking know that you're not gonna like go to the police and tell them anything now, because yeah. And then he basically proves to her, like, look, I didn't do this, but here's what would have happened to you if I wasn't in the picture. And then she kind of goes, okay, well, this was like one of 5 guys that did this to me. And this kind of puts Dexter on the path to hunt down all of these guys as a form of him trying to make himself feel better for Rita. It's like a guilt thing, which is the main theme of this season, by the way, which is guilt.
Yes. Lumen is my favorite character. Julia
Julia
Stiles
Stiles.
comes in as Lumen.
Kind of love her.
Yeah, no, and I think
She's good.
she really stole the show for me. She was the only, I think she was the the actress, and like to an extent Michael C. Hall too.
You're right.
I think that really crushed
Who,
it.
by
this
the
season.
way, had cancer this season. What a crazy...
Whoa,
You
really?
guys didn't know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he's
know
wearing a
that.
wig. You guys can't tell?
No, I didn't know. Actually, you know what? That does make sense. I thought his hair did look a little goofy, but it'd been kind of looking goofy. But, I mean, that's.
Dude, Goofy, he had cancer, bro.
I know. That's obviously that's terrible. Sympathizing with him, but his hair did look off. Is all I'm trying to say.
But yeah, the man had cancer this entire season. That's incredible that he still showed up and...
Yeah, no,
it.
for real. That's huge. Good.
Kudos.
Yeah, kudos. Fucking
Yeah, Michael C. Hall is the
Hall.
entire reason this entire show works, by the way. I think we should all say.
Yeah.
But
No, Lumen, I loved her character. I love when they first introduced her. She's like traumatized. She plays this like broken person, as Dex would say. She's broken, like me. She's this other broken woman who comes into life, blonde, looks a lot like Rita. A little, well, I mean, not exactly, but you see what they're implying. And he does what he can to kind of patch her up. Which, yes, it's because of the guilt and everything. But no, I think she really knocked it out of the park. I think she sold her development and her arc in this season worked really well for me. I think it was a season early, but that's another thing. But I think that her showing up and her just like really feeling like a traumatized person, like she really went through this like probably the most horrible thing, a human being could endure.
One thing I will say, the scene where she's like at the airport, and she's like getting patted down and watching all the other guys.
Like
Yeah.
PTSD scene.
It's really done poorly though. Like I was watching it with Jason, who edits our thing, and he's occasionally on.
He's been on since. I mean, he's missed the past couple episodes.
There's a scene though where they're patting down so they're patting Lumen down, and obviously she's freaking the fuck out given her trauma. But
Yeah.
like they're shooting guys walking past her, and there's like one specific shot of a guy walking backwards, and it's so fucking funny. It's really awkwardly done, which is
Awkward.
odd because like 2 episodes later they do the same thing except for way more effective. I mean that's definitely just probably a different director did it, but I don't know. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, it felt a little weird. I mean, I got exactly what they're going
Yeah,
for.
you get what they're
Yeah.
going for. It's just
It
not
was
done.
long.
Yeah.
It went on for a long time.
Which I understand is like
Yeah.
again probably what
Probably
she's
what
going
they
through
were
in her
going
head.
for.
Yeah, she's like, oh, she's really
So I
can't take it.
mostly like Lumen. I think she's a lot of fun to like. Or I mean, that came out bad.
such a fun character.
She's fun because like they take her a little like okay in terms of characters that like team up with Dexter. There've been 2 now, right? There've been Miguel Prado and her. She gets a little further. Miguel Prado really only like kills one person with Dexter and then goes crazy.
Yeah.
Lumen's obviously around for a little bit longer. I do like her because I find her fun in the sense that she's kind of like someone to bounce dialogue off with Dexter.
Yeah.
Or like Dexter's just doing all this crazy shit and she's like, what the fuck is this? I
Yeah.
like that. I like that she can kind of like call Dexter out on all his weirdness because, at this point in the show, we're so used to like how he just casually does things.
Yeah.
But to her, she's like, a regular person. So watching her react is really funny. Like when he takes the trophy and she's kind of looking at it like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. She's like, this is clearly more than just about like killing these guys, 'Cause
Yeah, and I love that she also calls him out. She's like, let's be honest, Boyd Fowler was not the first time you've done this, was it?
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate that too. I really liked her as his partner and stuff. And again, seeing her develop into that role where at first she's just like, I'm gonna go kill this dude, and she's just gonna go kill a dude in broad daylight. And it's like, whoa, she's really not thinking it through. Kind of dumb, but I think a little understandable for her, again, where she's coming from. It, again, a little dumb, but makes sense. She's like just in this like, hell hath no fury, right? Like a woman scorned. She's going for blood, and it makes sense that. And I like that Dexter there is able to guide her along a lot like Harry did, obviously, and then just like giving her the code and then showing her the whole process of like how you're supposed to do it. Yeah, no, I liked her.
Very minimal Harry talk this season too, interestingly enough.
Yeah, except when Harry is like, just yelling at him like, "You idiot, Dexter!"
Following him around, not looking so much like a ghost as he did.
I prefer this though, to be honest. I kind of
Yeah.
prefer he just looks like he's there.
I don't know. I
Like Jason said that it looks like Days of Our Lives when they do the shitty lighting to like
I kind of like him, like just being there with his little glow. I feel like he it just adds a little something, and it's like it's supposed to be like his little spirit buddy. Yeah, I kind of like it like that.
I think the reason it works for me is that in my head I'm like, well, I mean, we could have this debate too, though. Does Dexter actually imagine Harry, or is this just a way for them to communicate his thought process? Because to me, I think Dexter literally imagines Harry there.
Yeah,
I'm not saying thinks he's there. It's
Yeah.
like Dexter brings him into the room with him on purpose.
Yeah, no, I think so do I. I
So
think
to me, the fact that Harry would look like he's actually there makes more sense to me.
I guess so. I think it's also just like a window into his mind, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the real point of it, which I prefer it that way to show that he's not. I mean, we know that he's not, but still, I don't know. I like it there more.
I don't know. But anyways, I like Lumen a lot. I think they do a lot of interesting things with her. I will say I have one criticism of the character, but it's not even the character. I don't like that they get romantic towards the end. I think I would have preferred if they had just avoided that altogether. I don't know if you guys feel the same way or not.
No, the thing is, I think their chemistry was so good, and their like relationship seemed to bloom pretty organically. But again, it's just way too soon. It felt
Yeah.
way too rushed. Like it was just like, oh, again, what's her face? Rita just died. Like like a month ago, and he's already kind of jumping into everything else. So everyone else being like, "Whoa, Dex, like really, you're just moving on so quickly," and he's like, "I'm not," and I think that should have stayed that way too. But again, I really liked how their relationship eventually developed because it made a lot of sense. She really gets him and she accepts him, and that's something that even Rita probably wouldn't have done if she saw Dexter for who he really was, and she did. So I feel like that's a good relationship. It's just too soon.
I don't know. I just think that I would have liked. I get their thought process in doing the Lumen character right away. It's just the romance thing right away. And also, to be honest, I think I would have liked Lumen to be strictly like a platonic character for him. I don't know, because I liked a lot of their partners in crime. I think that works for me. Just the fact that they jump into the relationship thing. One, it feels a little unrealistic for both of the characters, like with Dexter.
Yeah.
I mean, one, Dexter's like not exactly, interested in romance anyways.
Yeah.
Lumen would be horribly traumatized and probably not ready to start any kind of relationship. And it borderline feels a little problematic. The fact that Dexter kind of like saves her and then, I don't know, starts having sex with her. Do you not know what I mean by that? It feels
I know
a
what you
little
mean.
problematic.
Yeah, no, it does. It feels like, again, just way too soon. I think that like Lumen would have been a good character to return at a certain point. Like this season being purely platonic, they clearly had something, but both of them aren't ready to like actualize it yet because, again, of they're both very recent and very, potent trauma that they just went through. Like, doesn't seem like they're immediately going to go for that intimacy, but they understand each other. So there's like, that relationship that would develop, but it doesn't do that.
You guys want to talk about Lumen's arc?
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously Dexter helps her kind of overcome this terrible trauma by getting revenge essentially and killing all 5 of the men that did this to her. I think the arc gets pretty interesting towards the end so in the mid of the season, Dexter basically just recognizes, hey, she has a dark passenger too. The dark passenger is, of course, how Dexter kind of traumatizes his internal darkness, his internal need for killing, and basically just the worst parts of him. And he sees that Lumen now has this darkness in her too. So they kill all 5 of the characters, and then at the end, I really like, this is one of the things that I really like about her. She just goes, it's gone. I have to leave.
Yeah.
And then he's just like telling her to stay, and she's like, I don't want to do, or I don't have to do this anymore. And he's like, you don't have to, but you don't, and he says, you don't have to. And she says, but you do. Mm-hmm. And it's just implying like she knows that he's never going to be able to give this up. And he knows that she can't do it anymore. And he doesn't want it to be true, but he knows it is deep down. This is something I actually really like, where she's just like, you know what I mean? She knows she has to go.
No, I understand that. And I like his reaction to it too. Felt pretty genuine, where he just like smashes the plate and just kind of breaks down a little bit because one, he's losing someone again that he really cares about. Obviously, again, with Rita echoing those emotions, and the fact that he knows, like he says, that it's true. What she's saying is true. He can't give it up, and that's just something that's just going to haunt him for the rest of his life. And yeah, I like that again. But if it would have been strictly platonic, and then she like came back at a later point, and like I think she would have been like the perfect partner for him, where she understands why he's doing this. That she would have just been like, knew his dark side, so he doesn't have to keep coming out with that bullshit. Yeah, because eventually, again, with all these characters, like we said before, that like whole double life thing, it runs out eventually. Like in all the stories from Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, whatever, they eventually reveal their secret identities to the person, especially their significant other, and then they have to deal with it in their own ways. It's always more interesting to me when they do it that way, when it's like, okay, now that this person Lumen knows who he is, like knows his true identity, knows what he does, like, and she still has to come to terms with that and then deal with it in their own way, which again would be super problematic. There's still issues there with him going out and murdering people at night. There's more than enough reason and tension there for her to be like, hey, what the fuck, you have to go to your son's birthday party or something. I don't know. Which again, by the way, sorry, really quick, but the ending where he was gonna like introduce her to everybody at the birthday party, it's like, whoa. Like again, how
Why
does
would
this
you do that?
Yeah, how does this look to everybody else,
Yeah.
Dexter? You're just like your wife just got murdered and you're immediately showing up with a new girlfriend. I was gonna be like, what? I would have been again more realistic if she would have been like, wait, hold on. We need to take this slow. Don't reveal me just yet, you know. I don't know.
I would like to give a complaint, though. As much as I like Lumen's arc, I think they should have gone kind of almost like a season 3 route where, in season 3, like Miguel Prado dies in episode 11 and then the next episode is all like resolve, except for they kind of fuck it up by throwing in the Skinner, but whatever. I think that in this season, Jordan Chase should have died in like episode 10 or 11. And then we could have had an entire like episode or 2 of Lumen kind of readjusting. I think I'd have liked that. I think this could have been a really nuanced take of like just Dexter and Lumen like living together at home. And like Lumen's kind of starting to have panic attacks, but for a different reason now. And maybe she's like appreciates Dexter, but might actually be a little afraid of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that should have taken its time. I was thinking about like, how would Vince Gilligan have done this? Like, cause you could see like a Breaking Bad storyline like this. You know what I mean? Of like the high running down and then you realizing where you are in reality.
Yeah, that would have made it, it's a much more nuanced show.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wish they would have done that. I wish like Jordan Chase would have been taken care of a little earlier, and have an early climax. Why not have a longer resolve, and then just the rest of the season is just Dexter and Lumen kind of settling in, and Lumen coming to the realization that she doesn't belong here, and Dexter having to let her go.
All right, so let's move on to Jordan Chase. Rosie, what did you think about Jordan?
Tick, tick, tick. No, he was creepy, I guess. I mean, like, the whole thing with him changing his identity and, like, motivating people to do stuff. Like, I get that that's his whole thing, motivating people to do it, and he's their motivation in this, like, whole season is to, like, go after him, and he... Like, even towards the end, he's like, you wouldn't have been like this if it weren't for me. You're not the weakling you were, like, talking to Lumen. You're not the weakling you were. Now you're taking your life back and stuff. I did that for you. Total narcissist, this guy, huh?
Yeah, no, it's really fucked up. But I do really like that final table scene, though, where he does say that shit. And it, like, it obviously, it's like, it's super fucked up and twisted and narcissistic, but it's like, it's kind of true in, like, the most effed up way possible, where he's just like, she wouldn't be that person who she was. But again, it's like gets into that argument. It's like, well, she would have always had that inner strength within her anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like the last thing anyone needs in their life is like ridiculous amount of trauma to like push that out of them. Yeah. What do you think? Blake.
Me?
Yes. Yeah.
Me?
You.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. The only other person here.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not talking to Invisible Miles?
Yeah.
Or Invisible Philip?
Miles, let us know in the
Invisible
comments
Jason.
how you feel about
Yeah,
Jordan
Miles, let us
Chase.
know in the comments how you feel.
Yeah.
We'll see if you actually listen to our own podcast now.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Chase is a pretty weak villain, which is a shame because I actually kind of like parts of him. I find interesting. I mean, one, I know that he really isn't the focus of the season, and that this is kind of a backseat villain season.
Yeah.
Like he's not even introduced till like episode 6.
Yeah.
Like he's really not the focus. It's more about Lumen and Dexter's relationship. But I mean, if I'd been in charge of like writing a 5th season of Dexter, I don't think I would have done a villain, period. I think that this is a season that should have been solely about Dexter. I think bringing in like Lumen and Jordan Chase and all this other shit was kind of unnecessary. I would have preferred something with just Dexter dealing with his shit and then maybe keep the Quinn and Liddy stuff.
Yeah.
But whatever, if you're going to do it right. I think he's kind of weak, which is a real shame because there's a couple of things I find interesting about him that I think they could have explored more. Like, one, just the fact that Dexter's going up against a like public speaker motivational guy would be interesting.
A famous person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
I mean, he's already kind of done that with, Prada, who was like a public figure. But again, it's not nearly on the same level as Jordan Chase.
Who's like a celebrity.
Yeah, he's famous across the country, probably worldwide. So that's like, that's a whole other level. But yeah, no, it does. Yeah, because they don't. Yeah, like you said, they don't introduce him really until episode 6 or so. And then, like you were saying, if you wanted them to kill him off, like episode 10 or 11, that really doesn't give him any time.
I mean, they
to
could have
breathe.
introduced them a little earlier if
Yeah.
that were the case.
Definitely.
But my problem with them too is here's the other thing. There's a couple things I find really interesting. One, the fact that we'll just say his dark passenger, I guess, is the fact that he was the person he didn't want to be and transformed into the person he wanted to be.
yeah.
Because that's the thing I find most interesting about them, and they don't fucking explore it at all, is the fact that he was probably not the coolest kid when he was younger, right? He was like a chubby kid, and they show that picture's worth 1,000 words, and like all the friends are all together, and Jordan Chase is like on the side and doesn't look like they even care about him, right?
Yeah.
Yet now, like 20 years later or whatever, like everyone seems to be kind of afraid of him.
Yeah, they,
and
like,
their lives
worship him, too.
revolve
They
around
worship him and are also kind of afraid of him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I think they should have explored. Like, what did he do to go from like probably the butt of their jokes to like their god?
Yeah.
I really wanted to see that. And another thing I feel like is a wasted opportunity, and this goes for all of the guys in general, is their relationship with each other. Like, it's clear that Boyd Fowler was like their, the bottom guy, right?
Yeah, the sick weirdo friend.
The sick
I mean, they're
weirdo.
all sick weirdos. But
Yeah,
like,
he's the.
he's
the
the sick
least
weirdo.
successful of
But
the
I mean,
friends.
like Jordan,
Yeah.
Jordan Chase doesn't give a fuck about him. Like early on, he's like, "Good, you put it all on Fowler." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the Gary King of the group.
Yeah, I just wish that they would have explored that a little bit, like the kind of dynamic between all 5 of them.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot about Jordan Chase this is super interesting. Or the fact that he doesn't even participate, he just orchestrates. Like, there's even that shot where he's visiting his first victim, who's the only one that's alive other than Lumen. And she tries to touch him, and he like takes her hand off. Like, there's all
Like, don't
these.
touch me.
Yeah, there's all these like, but it's like, is he a virgin?
Who, Jordan?
Yeah,
I
I think he might be.
yeah,
I
I
would not
think-
be surprised.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if he is, because like, yeah, they never really show him having any interest in women other than like he just cares about like domination
Yeah,
and power and everything.
control.
And that's why even when he's like gonna do it, he's like has the Lumen tied up and everything. You know, in the back of your head, you're thinking, well, he's never done it before. He's never touched them or anything. So
She even says that.
yeah,
And he's like, well, maybe I'm changing, but he still doesn't do it.
yeah, because he's a coward. He really doesn't know how to like, you know, he spouts a lot of shit, but he doesn't really do it.
Maybe he has erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, he could.
And that's why
Honestly,
he does this whole thing.
Dude, honestly, that's the thing that happens with like real serial killers, that like they
Ron
have.
always has to bring up real serial killers every
Well,
episode.
I mean, this is a show about
relevant.
serial killers, yeah. So like, it's relevant, and it's like that's the thing that happens when they have sexual inadequacies and they take it out because they don't have that power, so they force themselves onto other people, or they have to deal with it by like literally taking the life out of people. That's like the ultimate form of power or whatever. So it's fucked up, and that would have been, again, way more interesting to like
Yeah,
dive into that,
it's-
but they don't.
The shame is that there's a lot of interesting psychology behind this character that just literally doesn't get explored. Like the fact that he's all about power, the fact that he doesn't do it for some reason,
And control.
the control, the fact that his entire group went from probably picking on him to worshiping him, the fact that there's just all these like small details that I'm like, yeah,
Super
Jordan
underdeveloped,
Chase like on paper is super interesting, but in action, like he's just like white guy that speaks.
Do you know if he's based off of any of the characters in the books?
I don't think so, but don't quote me on that.
Okay. If you do know, let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah, okay.
Can we talk about Quinn and Lydia a little bit more?
Oh, yeah. Let's get to Quinn
So
and Lydia.
this is my favorite part of the season, actually. I really like Quinn. I've said it a lot. He's one of my favorite characters.
You
I
love him.
I love Quinn. Quinn's my favorite. I really like the subplot. You're saying it's unrealistic, but I think they already built it up. Quinn sees past Dexter very clearly. And then not only does he see past him, but his wife dies. And the circumstances are odd. Trinity has followed a pattern for 30 years, and suddenly he's going to break it on someone that they know. It's a little weird. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Quinn basically is like, And then the Kyle Butler sketches come out. So Kyle Butler is, of course, Dexter's alias, and this is the one lead that they have on Trinity. So, of course, Quinn kind of looks into it, even though he's not supposed to, because this is an FBI case, not their case. And he kind of looks at the sketches and goes, this looks a little bit like Dexter. So the entire plot of Quinn and Liddy is essentially this. Quinn gets a little curious, and he wants to look into it, but he knows that he can't. So what he does instead is he hires Stan Liddy, which is a narcotics officer who is like probably going to lose his job because he had a sting operation with LaGuardia.
Yeah.
And he's probably like a sketchy cop too. So,
Oh, Liddy? No, I don't think he's sketchy. He seems totally like a straight edge guy.
but yeah, so Quinn,
That bitch put cuffs on me.
that bitch put cuffs on me. But yeah, so, and this feels very in character, right? This is how Quinn would do this. You know what I mean? He would just hire some sketchy guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Quinn hires a sketchy cop to look into Dexter. However, Quinn is also developing a relationship with Deborah, and he, like Ron already said, he's really trying. So at the halfway point, Quinn definitely knows some weird shit's going on, but he cares more about Deborah, and he doesn't want to ruin that. So he says, you know what, Stan Liddy, I'm sorry. Let's just call this off. It's not worth it. We'll probably both get fired anyways. But Stan Liddy is, of course, obsessed with getting his job back, getting reinstated. So he's like, no. This case is exactly what I need to get back into power.
Yeah.
So he kind of goes solo, and then Stan Liddy begins investigating Dexter while Quinn doesn't even really know. And it all kind of comes to a halting stop when Stan Liddy abducts Dexter and tries to like blackmail him into confessing to everything.
Yeah, which is like, again, that's where it jumps the shark for me when he just fucking just straight up kidnaps Dexter. It's like, what? You had all of this evidence. You had all of this stuff to just show that, like, you know, that not only is Dexter gearing up for murder with a person who is a former, like, you know, like who's wrapped up in this like crazy investigation, which, to be fair, he didn't know exactly what they're going into, but again, it fits the profile with what the investigators are saying. They're like, this is like this Bonnie and Clyde couple that are going around murdering people, which again, to be fair, Liddy probably didn't know about because he's no longer part of the investigation, but he knows that there's more than enough here to show that they're
Suspect.
Yeah, they're suspect and they're gearing up for a murder, you know. And also they say stuff too because he's like been recording them for who knows how long, right? And so I don't know. There's this stuff there where it's like it really seems very odd to me that he just straight up kidnaps Dexter. But I like how it pretty much all resolves itself when Dexter just kills him, he escapes, and then Quinn is just there and he's just like, oh shit, when they find his dead body, and he's just like, I don't know what to say or
and
what
Quinn's
to do.
instantly the suspect because he's like one of the only people Liddy talks to.
The last
And-
like 5 calls on his phone were to Quinn.
And unfortunately for him, blood drops on his shoe.
Yes.
Now, this is something I love. This is the beginning of a great dynamic. I mean, it's already started. It pretty much starts in season 4. Like, Dexter and Quinn don't even really talk in season 3. But in season 4, it begins. Dexter kind of sees Quinn doing bad and just tells him, I don't care, just leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
And then in season 5, Quinn's kind of looking into Dexter. But at this very moment, I love this entire sequence where, like, immediately, like, they're like, Stan Liddy's dead. You see Quinn just kind of looks towards Dexter, and they're kind of just staring each other down. But I fucking love the scene where they show up to the crime, and Quinn looks actually, like, terrified of Dexter here.
Yeah.
He's kind of looking at him, and he's just like, oh, fuck.
Like,
Yeah.
Because
did you kill
Because
Liddy?
Quinn 100% knows that was Dexter now.
Yeah.
He
And
looks
not
at
just
him.
that. Let's be real. Quinn knows there's a lot going on with Dexter at this point, right? He's
Yeah.
seen the photos.
Photos of him and Lumen dumping a body
Dumping
off of
a
Dexter's
body.
boat.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's seen this.
However, this is wrapped up when I think Dexter's answer to this is, I mean, if I fuck over Quinn, this will probably go bad for everyone. So
Yeah.
instead what he does is he clears Quinn, and I love that little resolve at the end of the season where Quinn just walks up and is just like, thank you. And then Dexter's just kind of like, for what? It's this perfect little wrap up that totally makes sense of both characters, where Dexter doesn't want anything crazy to happen, and Quinn's entire philosophy has always been self-interested. So just the fact that he's like, fuck it, you're sketchy, I'm sketchy, we could just coexist.
Yeah.
And I do like the follow-up to this. In the next few seasons, there's so many moments in the later seasons of Dexter where they're both just kind of like passing each other in the hallways, like, I know what you're up to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that resolve. And yeah, also we should say Peter Weller also deserves a shout out. He was fucking great in this.
Yeah, Peter Weller was great. No, I actually agree with you that I do like how it ended up resolving. Is it that realistic? Not really. It's like Quinn's fingerprints were all over the van. There's like, again, way too much evidence pointing to Quinn to think that the blood doesn't match up, that they're just like, well,
Weren't there
I
be
guess it
fingerprints
wasn't
of
Quinn.
Dexter too, though?
Was he wearing gloves? I don't remember if
Was
he
he wearing gloves?
I want to say he probably was, because he was in his kill uniform. He was
Oh,
ready there
sure.
to like kill Dexter. But again, there'd be like, there'd be hair follicles. There would be
Something.
There was definitely evidence there
in
to
terms
like,
of
show
like
them.
in terms of the bad seasons, whatever. It's
Yes, I know.
acceptable.
It's like I don't know if it's acceptable, but we can move on from it because it's like, this is about as good as it gets. So I think I liked that resolve. Yeah, realistic? No, but it was fun.
It works on a character level.
Yeah, I like how they basically are just like, okay, I'm just gonna look past your shit. You look past my
Yeah,
shit.
they're kind
whatever.
of just turning a blind eye on each other, which I find really fun.
Okay, so I think this pretty much wraps up
Or can
season
we talk
5.
about one last thing?
One last
Yeah.
thing.
All right, one last thing. What?
I think we should definitely talk about episode 6. Everything is illuminated.
Oh yeah.
So this episode is really well written in terms of like, once again, I hate this term, in terms of like the script economy. This is like as tight as a Dexter episode gets.
The script economy.
No real fucking filler. Everything kind of has a payoff and a setup and a payoff.
Yeah.
There's Dexter thinks Lumen's gone, so he's like, all right, I'm getting back to my life. Rita's still dead. I have to kill someone. So he kind of goes for an easy kill.
Mm-hmm.
This is the easiest kill ever. Then Lumen shows up and fucks everything up for him and is like, oh my god, I shot someone, he's bleeding out. Come now. And Dexter's like, fuck, I just M99'd the guy. What am I going to do? So he literally just puts the guy in his trunk, drives out, and is like, all right, let's figure this out. So the whole episode is essentially 3 things. Dexter is trying to help Lumen cover up a murder. Deborah and the Miami people are looking into the Fuentes brothers. And then eventually they move on to that murder, and the time clock is kind of ticking.
Yeah.
So Dexter's got to figure this all out, and it's all written so perfectly. And then the greatest payoff, maybe of all time, is that right when shit's about to hit the fan, the guy escapes from his van, and Dexter literally has to run for his life to kill this guy, drag his body, and make it all look organic. And then, of course, Masuka's great monologue.
Yes,
Oh,
Masuka's
Masuka
scene is the
made
best
it.
part of that episode for sure. But again, I feel like there's so many like mistakes that episode.
I don't think it was perfectly written.
Because it's like, okay, first of all, someone hears gunshots and then they call homicide to show up, and then they don't move in because they have to wait for homicide to see a body. And it's like, wait, hold on. They just got a call for gunshots. They should immediately move in and see what's going
Yeah,
on.
they didn't see anyone.
Yeah.
They just heard the gunshots. And
So-
then they're waiting outside for the longest time.
Yeah, which again, it's like it doesn't make any logical sense. Like, it would have been made more sense if some lady found a body and was like, "Oh no, there's a body." I don't know, a fucking janitor or something.
And she calls and runs away.
Yeah,
or
and they just
something.
run away, and then there's like, "I saw some body in there," and then they're like, "Okay, we'll wait for the homicide to show up or something."
Yeah, but then it turns out Lumen didn't kill the guy, so he was still wandering around, bleeding
Yeah.
out, and they have to like follow
Track
a
him
trail
down.
of blood to
Yeah.
find him. There's definitely like a huge like build up for sure.
Yeah,
It was a good episode.
and they
It
do
was
a
a good
thing.
episode.
They do a
I'm
thing.
talking
this,
in terms of entertainment, like whatever.
Yeah,
was very
I'm talking
entertaining.
like, okay, so there's they do this 3 times this season, and I kind of hated it, but at the end it kind of paid off a little bit. But they do a thing where Dexter almost gets caught, right? Someone is like walking up, and then it's like, oh no, they're gonna find him, and then it's like, oh no, it's okay. Turns out because of this. And the second time they do it, I think it's this one, and then it's like, oh no, they're gonna find it, and then oh no, they didn't. And then
Someone being Deb like every time.
yeah, and then the third time, and then Deb finally walks in where Jordan Chase's body is there, and she finds the 2 of them, and they're behind the plastic screen. And I actually really do like that moment where she just like lets them go, because she's like, okay, like I understand why I did this here. It's one of the few times that Deb shows actual more like emotional intelligence and like empathy for these people, where she's like, I completely understand why this would be a thing that you guys are doing. So I'm just going to step outside for a little while. Whatever happens, I didn't see anything. I just reported crime scene. Bye. And like leaves or whatever. That's like fine. But they do build up to it in like very frustrating ways, where it's like, okay, how many times are they going to do this? But then they actually do kind of pay it off. So it's like, okay.
To be fair,
this
it
one's
worked
fun.
every time.
This one's fun, and everything is illuminated. It's fun, and it's not even like done dramatically. It's more done comedically, like the way it shoots Dexter in his face as he's just running.
Yeah, when he's
Yeah.
chasing the
And
naked
it's-
man.
It's very absurd.
And the payoff with Masuka's like whole
Autoerotic
autoerotic
asphyxiation.
autoerotic mummification.
Oh, mummification. I apologize.
Hilarious. I like that whole sequence like had me really cracking up. That was the most fun I had this season.
We had to pause it and go back like 3 times because it was so funny.
Yeah. That being said, one last thing I just want to wrap up here, and I just want to make this brief. Batista and LaGuerta's marriage
God.
and
Super
love
annoying,
story,
this
Oh
fucking
my
the most
God.
frustrating,
At least
annoying,
it's
and
not
stupid subplot.
That it doesn't have as many scenes this
Hey.
season.
Oh, it has way too many
If
scenes.
you marry somebody and find out they have like a savings account with a lot of money in it.
Oh,
Is
Batista's
that
an
yours?
asshole, by the way.
No, Batista's a fucking idiot.
By the way, though, but
This whole
Batista's just
season.
thinking about how many double meats he could buy with that.
No, the
So
thing is,
stupid.
it's like, you know what? You can make the argument that, like, no, she doesn't have to tell you about the money right away because you got married like a month ago. You know,
ago.
that hasn't
Like a
come
week
up
ago.
yet.
Yeah, this
like,
whole-
like a couple days ago.
yeah, exactly. You guys got married on a whim. Maybe she doesn't have to disclose her entire life savings to you right away.
Yeah, I don't care about
hasn't come
Batista's
up.
bar fight either.
Oh, Batista's
No,
bar fight again,
stupid.
super stupid, so contrived because some dude just ran up to him and was like, "Yeah, she sucks, good dick, she's super great," and it's like no fucking reasonable person would ever say that. Like it's so stupid. And then he knocks out the cop, and it's like, why would a cop say that to another cop? And then I don't know, whatever. And another thing is that eventually, again, when LaGuerta's sneaking around and she's doing like PI work or
my
whatever, or
God.
she's doing like she's helping them catch
Oh,
Peter
yeah.
Weller, it's like, why wouldn't you, like, again, Batista's stupid for jumping to those conclusions,
But also, it looks
LaGuerta's-
real bad.
yeah, LaGuerta's a fucking idiot for not saying anything either. Like, why it doesn't make any sense why she isn't just like, hey, look, I have to go do this shit because you put a cop in a hospital, so I have to have to fix this in my own way. This is what I'm doing. Super fucking simple. It's like they're idiots for getting married on a whim, you know? It's like all that's really coming back to bite them. It's so stupid.
One last comment, then I sort of got we're done with season
Okay,
5.
okay.
Okay, sure.
I'm not a huge fan of the resolve to like the Trinity stuff this season. I feel like there's a I mean, I don't want to get too far into like my rewriting of Dexter because I think that I have to wait till next week to do that. But I do feel like the Kyle Butler stuff does kind of have a weak resolve. Quinn kind of just looks into it and then doesn't.
Yeah.
Especially because spoilers, like they kind of do resolve that next season, which is weird that they choose to do it in season 6.
I don't even remember.
There's spoilers from season. You guys don't give. Do you care? Sorry. Oh, do you want to?
My
Whatever,
ears are
just-
covered.
just
I've
say it
only
really
seen
quick.
up to
In the next season,
5.
yeah, remember in the next season, Dexter like visits like the Trinity family household again, and like they're all completely fucked up.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it's like an entire episode about Jonah. And not
God.
only that, but they also kind of gives reason to why Dexter wasn't immediately apprehended for being Kyle Butler, where Jonah's like, "Yeah, no, I protected you. Like you were clearly protecting me. I have to protect you." Like
Again, yeah, that should have been this season.
yeah, like why the fuck is that in season 6? That's very clearly.
It's poor, as
it's
Philip
so
would say,
odd.
poor planning, no attention to detail.
It's very odd. So I don't know. I feel like there was a missed opportunity here. I think that I really wanted the FBI thing to be a little more present. I
Oh
think,
yeah,
I
the
think it
FBI
would've
thing
been-
goes away immediately.
Yeah.
They look like
don't
they're
see any of
looking
it.
really hard at Dexter,
And then they're
because again, yeah, it just makes sense, I guess, to an extent why they would. And then they're like, "Oh no, we know it wasn't you. It's just like we're just like curious or something." It's like that's just the dumbest shit
And
ever.
which sucks because I actually kind of want to see Dexter have to just like start lying. Like you have the perfect opportunity. You know what Dexter would say? He would just be like, "Okay, I was doing my own investigation into the Trinity killer. It was wrong of me, but I wanted to be the one to bring him down, and shit went sideways." And then that would have had like real world consequences for him too, where Deb would have been like, "What the fuck?" Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, it just makes sense that what's his face? Christina killed Lundy and kind of tried to kill Deb because like they were investigating him. Why doesn't it? It tracks that like what's his face? The Trinity would have known who Deborah is and everything, and then gone after her family.
Well, let's be realistic.
Her family.
If anybody ever Googled Dexter, they'd be like, Deborah was kidnapped by a serial killer this year. Another serial killer killed Dexter's wife. Oh, the serial killer's daughter shot Deborah.
Yeah.
DA goes missing by the Skinner. If
yeah,
anybody ever were to
it's
look at Dexter's...
so dumb.
It's part of the problem of the show, but I'm saving that for later. I think that wraps it up, unless you guys
Yeah.
have anything else.
I think we're good.
Do we have any final opinions? Final statements and ratings. Rosalind.
That is a tough one. Okay, so I love Dexter. All right, so I feel like I'm a little biased and like maybe I've got like rose-colored glasses on while I'm doing this
Rose-tinted
rating.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it's not like Blake has that.
It's not like I have that.
Up until season 4, which before like getting ready for this podcast, like that's all I had seen. I've like really admired the whole show. This season though, there were so many times where I just felt so disappointed and kind of angry about certain details. I was
Oh, it
just
gets
like,
worse.
yeah, like how these are not the characters that I know. This is like not stuff they would do. Like this is just flat out stupid. God, but it's still Dexter. And I do like the Lumen character. I had some opinions on that, but it's fine. I'll add them to the comments.
So in the museum, or no, I'm kidding.
Fuck. What were the streaming ratings again?
There's premium streaming and streaming with ads.
I'll say premium streaming.
Okay, that's fair.
Ronald, final opinions and rating?
Yeah, a lot like what Rosie said. There's so many moments of this season that frustrate the hell out of me, and a lot of character inconsistencies and lack of attention to detail and stuff that they should have done that they shouldn't have done this season and probably should have done the next season. Yeah, but Lumen's great. Peter Weller's great. That bitch put cuss on me.
Stupid fucking name.
Yeah, that it's like there. I had
Thanks
enough
for the Cuervo.
I had enough fun this season that it kind of sustained the show for me, that it didn't make it that unbearable to watch, and I think it started to pick up like towards the end. And yeah, so I'm gonna say streaming, like premium streaming, or nah, fuck. Nah, yeah, I'll say premium streaming. Yeah, for this season.
It's Dexter.
I'm biased. Much like you guys said, I mean, the drop in quality is very noticeable,
apparent,
sadly, especially with like attention to detail and also logic. Like, I know that the first 4 seasons weren't exactly like masterpieces of realism,
Yeah.
but I do feel like there was like a little
There was
more
like
of an effort.
they
Stuff made
tried to
sense.
be more logical. Yeah, and this one they're just like, fuck logic.
But in this one, but there's still things I like and there's things I dislike. I mean, like I said, in terms of like I like the general Lumen stuff. I like the Stan Liddy / Quinn storyline and the whole Deb thing. It's just, I do feel like the subplots are out of control. I fucking hate everything to do with like the cult killings.
Yeah.
I fucking hate a lot of like Batista's shit. And there are just things where I'm like, that feels a little inconsistent. So overall, I mean, it's watchable. It's not the worst thing ever. So I'm putting this one in the premium streaming category, which is
So scared there.
That's my lowest rating for a Dexter season thus far.
Oh, I'm sure it'll go worse. go a lot lower.
Don't. say
Okay,
that.
guys. Well, thanks for listening. What are your thoughts on Dexter season 5? Is it that noticeable for you? Did you love it? Did you hate
Some
it?
people like the season, by the way, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't think any of us said we disliked it, right? We liked it. It's just
Yeah,
like,
I see what they're going
It's-
for.
yeah.
it sucks. It sucks
see
that
why
it's
they
like,
did the
yeah,
things they
I think
did.
next season I'll kind of get into like my Dexter rewrites because I think everybody has kind of done that in their head that's watched Dexter. And I just find, as much as I like Lumen and like the Jordan Chase shit, like I feel like it's a misstep. I feel like introducing more characters when shit's already hits the fan is like just the hallmark of a bad show to me.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree.
wrap
I agree.
your
This
shit
whole
up with what you
season
have. Yeah.
is a rebound for season 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, Rosie, for joining us.
It's
Thanks-
my
thanks,
pleasure,
Rosie, for joining us.
guys.
That's
Okay.
Rosie. Say hi.
I'm Rosie. Say hi to me.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.